My name is Mike Guerzhoy. I teach ESC 180. I'm here on the podcast. I was told to do this.
We're in the common room. I'm Fola.
I'm Adam.
I'm Yang Yang.
I'm Pavlos.
And we're joined today by Professor Michael Guerzhoy.
Hey.
All right. We also have some other members here. We got Samit, our editor.
Hello.
Ready to come in for him? We got Mark, cameraman. And we got Jackie. All right. So we've gone over like everybody's name. We're gonna ask just for you to introduce yourself. Like, why are you here? Why did we invite you? Maybe give some context.
Shouldn't you tell
Okay,
me?
yeah, that's true actually. Okay, so this is Professor Guerzhoy. He's our ESC 180 and ESC 190 computer science professor. We really like him as a professor. He's really funny and he teaches us a lot. So that's why we thought of bringing him on.
Good answer. Thank you. So I've been teaching Anxi actually from my first year of graduate school, where I was just randomly assigned as a teaching assistant for, at the time it was CSC 180 for computer science. It got renamed to ESC 180. Always a lot of fun and looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. Okay. Do you wanna?
Well, what's one thing that, for example, you enjoy, like teaching NSci and computer science in general? Like, where did that passion come from? And just tell us about your story a little bit.
Thanks. I guess I enjoy a few different things. I think the thing that I enjoy most about Anxi, and especially actually first year Anxi, is it's people who have a lot of curiosity and also people who have a lot of drive to make things. And that's what we're trying to make 180 and 190 about, is, making things and also trying to understand things deeply. I think, I say it and people maybe don't take me seriously, but I really think that computer science is not quite the queen of the sciences, but it is a way of thinking about the world, right? So when you're thinking about code, you can, everything can be encoded with code in principle. I think it's not the only way to think about, how you think, but it's a way of structuring your thinking. And I really enjoy introducing this perspective as well when I teach, usually implicitly.
So would you say that programmatic thinking is what you also enjoy about computer science and perhaps why you decided to choose pursuing higher studies in it?
I would say actually not necessarily. I think I enjoy the kind of making things aspect of it. The reason I really got into computer science is, at the time, computer vision was just becoming possible. So it was just becoming possible to input a bunch of pixels into a program and have the program say, this is what's in the picture. And I think in a way it's almost the opposite of what you said, because if you think about, coding the way we do it in ESC 180, ESC 190, in Python, that's exactly the thing that doesn't work for example, understanding images.
Right.
So I think the reason and initially I started working in computer vision, the reason I got into it is precisely because it doesn't work the way you would think it would work if you thought that everything was kind of structured like a Python program. So what really got me excited was, you can incorporate those kind of statistical ways of thinking about data distributions together with programming in order to make something that, if you're completely from outside the field, you would say, what's so hard about, telling whether it's a picture of a cat or a dog? That seems easy. And then if you are, even a very advanced person, in the 60s, 70s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s, you'd say, that sounded easy, but actually it's impossible.
Right.
In a way, it's the opposite. What got me into it is that the kind of schematic, programmatic way of thinking doesn't work for the interesting kinds of problems.
So it was kind of just like you were really interested in like the future of that type of thing where they could process those things, and you kind of just wanted to be like integrated within that.
Yeah, I mean, mostly I just wanted to be kind of a small part of it, like trying to figure out how is it that it works, how is it that you can make something like that work.
So, how would you say your career has developed so far, and how have you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so I think I've taken, quite a few detours. So I started out actually when I came to UofT, I thought I would be a physicist, and then I got to the lab and I realized that was never going to happen. Then I kind of almost randomly got into specifically computer vision. So the way it happened is in second year, back at the time, it was possible to sign up for PY in second year.
Oh, really?
So I signed up for the portal, right? And I saw a job at the time. There were maybe 2 AI jobs, I think, on the whole of the PY portal. And I saw that I'm not qualified for that job, actually. So I applied for a few others, but the one that I really wanted, I didn't even apply. I was clearly not qualified. But I kind of said, okay, what do I need to do in order to apply for that job next year? So that was a job on the imaging algorithms team at Epson, so the printer scanner company. They have an office here in Toronto. They moved to Markham now. I thought, okay, that's the kind of thing that I'm interested in. I want to do computer vision. I took, a course next year in computer vision, took a course in machine learning, applied the next year. I was actually ranked second. That was their second choice. Their first choice declined, however. So that is how I got the job, and that is kind of where I basically got my break. So, we were actually at the time, not very many people were doing it, but we did, neural networks for imaging algorithms. One of the things we did was, doesn't sound like a big deal now, but we're scanning photos with a flatbed scanner, and we wanted to orient them automatically so they would be upright. We used neural networks for that. So that's still in the product, actually. So buy an Epson scanner. The feature last I checked was by default in Japan, off in North America, but there is a checkbox.
You can turn it on, okay.
So that's how I started. And then I also, especially kind of starting with grad school, I really fell in love with specifically actually literally a C180, not so much anything else. And I started TAing it in grad school, and then I kind of the third year of grad school, I got to teach it for the first time. So I taught the last version of ESC 180 in C, and then there was a decision made to switch it to Python. So the next year I actually taught the first version of ESC 180 in Python. I then, moved to industry several times. I came back to UofT several times. Yeah.
Just on the note of teaching ESC 180,
yeah,
we were just wondering what made you stay with ESC 180 for so long? What makes you love teaching the course?
Several things. So I think it's kind of goes back to what we were talking about, why teach computer science, why teach engineering science. And I think 180 more so than, any other courses are fine as well, but more so than any other course really embodies this. You get people who are just fresh out of high school, they did really well in high school, that they got into AngSci. By the time people get to third year in AngSci, there's a little bit of a regression to the mean, right? You're in is it? Not everyone, but it's a little bit true, right? So you get precisely the people who are extremely enthusiastic and driven in high school and who just made the decision, I want to do something really challenging and really intellectually deep, and I want to make things, and they just came in, they haven't changed their minds yet. It's great. I think there's really nothing like first year AngSci really in terms of getting a really driven and curious group of people. 190 is fine as well, but people are kind of tired as a
I kind of have a question about something you mentioned earlier. So I know you kind of went early into computer vision and like AI, and one of the earlier people to kind of jump the gun on this. So based on your experience and you see like how it's developing, what do you think the future of this like sector and this area is?
I'm not here to give you investment advice, but if you have a time machine, you should have invested in NVIDIA.
Only if we could invent one.
Well, how hard can it be? Not that much harder than making a GPU, apparently. I don't know, by the way, why it is that AMD. I think there's like theories about like why is it that NVIDIA has such dominance and people, like AMD does make good GPUs actually. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say in terms of. I think it's always possible that we're kind of near the saturation point where you can do about as well as what's currently possible and not more. It's conceivable. Sometimes you need to wait for a breakthrough. Sometimes the breakthrough would be extremely difficult. Think about the history of computing, just like over the last 200 years. So in the early 1800s, like people, so Charles Babbage was thinking about like a computer, talking about what we talked before, like if you just think systematically, you make a bunch of rules, you can compute any output. How would you do that? Well, like just make a mechanical computer with a bunch of gears, and it's going to work out. And to some extent, it was true, but in another sense, until you could make semiconductors and basically like invent electricity and then invent semiconductors and then make all of that into modern CPUs, you couldn't really probably do much of anything with whatever else you might think about, like, mechanical gears or like pneumatic tubes or something. Like there's ways to do it, but it's like really hard. It probably would not ChatGPT, but like you couldn't make anything look like that, right? And then, it turned out that people have discovered semiconductors, and inventing the CPU from that was probably not that difficult, compared to that. But you could very well imagine, like it happened that it took 100 years from 1850 to 1950 for the modern CPU to be made. But, could just as easily have taken 1,000 years. Like, what's the difference between 100 and 1,000 on the scale of history? Maybe not a lot, so it's hard to predict. It might be that in order to really advance, you need something that's like fundamentally different from what we have now. I think taking kind of a more pragmatic view as well, like many people are wondering like what's going to happen with software development. Like is software just going to be automated with ChatGPT? And I don't know. It seems like it hasn't been so far. Again, it might be that we're near the saturation point where in order to advance more, if it's possible at all, you need something that's fundamentally different from what we have now. Or it could be that it just keeps creeping up and, certainly, like, you can do any lab in 180, 190 with ChatGPT, but equally well, you can't really do an actual job with ChatGPT.
So on that note, what are your thoughts, as you mentioned a lot about needing to fundamentally like redefine what it is we do in order to further push the boundaries of what you can do? What do you think the role of research is versus the role of actually working in the industry? What do you think the benefits and disadvantages are of either of the two?
Yeah, wait, for some context, we did stalk your LinkedIn a tiny bit, and we saw that you do some like freelance stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why we were kind of like wondering that.
Yeah. Again, kind of the freelance, and like we would have kind of a stealth mode startup as well, but like mostly, I teach and then, this and that. I think there is kind of not so much research versus industry as like large scale projects versus, medium scale, small scale projects. I think when I do research, mostly it's about, answering a small question that's kind of intellectual interest. In order to answer that kind of question, sometimes we need to build a system. In fact, that's what we usually do, is we build like something small that kind of works, that confirms that the idea kind of works, right? When you are in industry, there's different kinds of things that you can do. So there are startups, and so I worked, if you saw on my LinkedIn, I worked at St. Mike's Hospital, and what was basically like, I was working for the hospital, but it was like basically a small unit within the hospital that was trying to apply data science to healthcare data. So essentially kind of like a startup. In fact, they did spin it off. That's a little bit like research, just more applied, in the sense that we had, concrete goals in terms of making a concrete things work, as opposed to trying to answer a question just for the sake of curiosity, right? But it's not, it's a little bit different in terms of the goals, but I would say it's not, at least to me, it wasn't fundamentally different from just working on research questions. Just the research question was, can we make it work in a way that is useful? But I would distinguish that from, people who are, work like building like DeepSeek or something, right? So there you're really building, like it's, a huge endeavor, and not, on the scale of like building like a Boeing 747 or something, which would be like, tens of thousands of people probably. So something like ChatGPT or something like DeepSeek, that's more on the order of like hundreds to 2,000 people, where you're really focused and you are trying to build something that hasn't been built before. Not in the sense of like, I have this question that I want to answer, or like I have this application in mind that's going to be useful that I want to just make work, but in the sense of it's a large team that's working on something that was like maybe fundamentally impossible before. So this seems, different, and to the extent that it requires a lot of resources, this is just not something that happens all that much in universities. So specifically with building, large language models, it costs, hundreds of millions of dollars to do. So not the kind of thing that usually happens at university.
Right.
So it's like a lot about your ambition towards like just breaking through the industry. Like that's what kind of just keeps you going every day, motivates you.
I mean, depends. Some people just like money. Yeah, I mean, I think, like if you're asking about kind of research versus industry, in a way it's like about like, are you just curious and want to answer kind of small or big questions, or like build towards something that's maybe uncertain, versus do you want to like focus for, a few months or a few years on building something that hasn't been built before. And like it's a continuum, like especially industry, there's a lot of variety, right? So there's startups that are, I would say, quite similar to research, and in a way kind of, if you're thinking about like what's research like, well, like a little bit like doing a large course project, like it's all in the continuum, versus in industry, it's more typical where, like we got to make it and it hasn't been made before for this or that reason, and we got to make it first before the other people get to it, right? So it's a little bit different in that way. For me personally, the difference is, like when I was in industry, I was like, like we're building something that hasn't been built before. That's what I do, like 40 hours a week. I would come in, I like late, used to be a late riser. I would come in at 11, leave at 8, and like that's what I would do all day. That's not what research is usually like.
And I have a question. So you were talking about like the curiosity aspect, and I'm sure there's also an element, I guess, of like creativity that goes into this. And in case anyone doesn't know, Guerzhoy, Professor Guerzhoy, does do music, poetry, and I'm wondering if any of that creativity coming from, I guess, that area plays a role in, I guess, when you're writing code and when you're finding like maybe creative solutions to problems.
One tries to the extent that one can. I do think that, so for me, a lot of the time writing code does not feel like very much of a creative process kind of personally. Kind of coming up with research ideas does very much kind of feel like a creative process. With coding, I think it's like different depending on what you do. It's like a lot of what I do is kind of either I just need to make the thing work and I don't really care about how I get there. I just want to get there, and that's like most often the case when I write code. It's kind of like that. Very rarely you get a situation where you kind of know that there is a solution out there, but you don't see how to get there. And you got to figure out, okay, like I have those tools that sometimes they're complex kind of coding tools. So I mean like language constructs, stuff like that. And I think it's possible, but I'm not sure. And I got to explore how to combine the different things in order to make it work. That it's quite rare, because most of the time if you're in this kind of situation, you're just trying to solve something that's not solvable. Like you think it might be possible, but it's not. So like most of the time in my experience, it's like not creative, just need to get it done. It's straightforward. I see that it's possible, just need to do it. Or it's impossible, and then like very rarely you get lucky, or at least like that's my experience, and you're like on the threshold where it really is a creative process because you're trying to solve a problem that's really hard, and it happens that you can actually solve it. And that, to me, that feels like a creative process, like kind of like writing a poem where you don't know if it's going to work out. Like you have some ideas, but maybe those ideas are complete nonsense. And like maybe you write the poem and it just falls apart, but it doesn't work at all. Like when that happens, I kind of feel like very lucky. It doesn't often happen. Again, I think because usually it's like either it's straightforward or it's just plain impossible. You just think it's possible. And that's my experience with writing poems as well. Like most of my ideas just don't work.
On the topic of like creativity, we know you have a lot of hobbies. We saw you ran the half marathon, I think it was. I mean, you play guitar. We see all of his shorts on YouTube. We know you wrote a couple poems as well for Valentine's Day. You posted them on the Piazza, which is, for context, it's like a platform where you can chat with the professors and the TAs. And then we know you have a lot of hobbies, but if you weren't like into computer science, if you weren't a professor or a researcher, like what would you like dream job be?
I mean, kind of like this straightforward answer is, like I would try to be like one of the people who are making kind of something large, and so kind of something large scale, like, whatever, like I did not apply to work at OpenAI.
But it could be.
I would have probably be trying to do that. I'm also, I kind of starting from my second year, so apart from trying to break into computer vision, I get really interested in statistics and just trying to make sense of data. And I still I occasionally do kind of data science consulting and kind of trying to look at a large data set and trying to, in a systematic way, kind of get insights from the data set, trying to say, okay, like, what does the data actually say? Like, what's going on in the world based on just those kind of limited measurements? Can we do it with math? That's something that's very close to my heart. I don't get to do kind of all that much of it, but I would probably be doing that.
What if it was like nothing to do with academia? Like if you could choose any one of your hobbies to pursue full time, what would you go for?
You know, I don't think I would be good at busking on the TTC.
What do you mean? We love your music. We have a guitar as well. No, I'm kidding. We don't have a guitar.
Yeah, but do you ever
we
throw
actually
me
have one.
coins?
It's okay.
I'll try to open it, I'm sure. So, I don't know. I think, you know, I was like when I was 18 or something, or like or maybe like 16. I thought maybe I would be like a columnist in a newspaper. I think that was actually like my plan, like around like 14 to 16 or something like that. I don't think I would be very good at that actually. But for a while I tried that. But yeah.
I mean, we'll never know. Unless you...
No. We do know I cannot be a physicist because like the physics labs.
Okay, I think we have a segment that we're gonna pull up on either Full or Adam's phone. So we know that you wrote the poems on Piazza, and we have generated. It's in a different doc.
So full disclosure, I only wrote one of them this year. The others are reused from last year.
Oh, okay.
So that's the new one is the linked list one, which I'm kind of proud of.
Shoot. Okay. So this is kind of this is like a ranking the poems. We want you to rank. So there's 4 different AIs that we used for each of these poems. I think we can display them in post.
Yeah.
But we have 4 different poems.
Let's read them out.
You can read them out. And then we want you to rank which ones you like best, which ones are the worst GPTs.
All right. Poem 1. Roses are red, while true adore. My heart's in a loop, forever and more. I feel like the last line seems kind of like redundant. No shade on Claude or whoever wrote that. All right. Roses are red, my screen glows bright blue, while my heart dot is beating, thoughts dot point to you. Cool. Poem 3. Roses are red, love's boo is set true. My heart's code, it's just for you. No bugs, just me and you. Too much emotion. Roses are red, git check out -b us. Together we code, in love, no fuss. Too businesslike. Okay, so are we ranking them?
Yeah. If you scroll down, you can see the answers, but don't.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
Which one do you like the best? Or actually, start from number 4. We'll go from number 4 to number 1.
Okay. Which one sucks the most? Okay. So, someone's got to be the worst, and I think that's got to be poem 3. So, my heart's code, it's just for you. That's not even English. Well, a little bit. No bugs, just me and you. Okay, I mean, that is romantic. Pest control is important, but no, don't like it. Okay.
We can reveal which one was poem number 3.
Okay. Is that Grok?
It was Gemini.
Gemini.
Oh,
Okay.
alright.
Okay, someone's not using Gemini anymore.
We're not using Gemini anymore then.
Not for poetry. Okay.
Number 3.
Number 3. So I think I'm gonna go with poem 4 as second to last, because in love no fuss is just terrible. It does rhyme, but it doesn't make sense.
Well, poem number 4 was DeepSeek,
Yeah.
so you're gonna hurt their stock there.
DeepSeek stock is going down.
They're private. Okay. So they're private. My favorite theory is that DeepSeek is like a a subdivision of a hedge fund. So in principle, they could have released it and shorted NVIDIA to the release time of DeepSeek. That would have.
We got some Guerzhoy controversy here. Spicy stuff.
Yeah. We haven't even started the spicy.
We haven't even started. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Number 2. I think so roses are red, my screen glows bright blue. I like that. While my heart is beating, that makes sense. However, thoughts point to call you. No, that makes no sense at all. So it started well. I think my screen glows bright blue is a good start. Still, no. Okay, and then number 1. So roses are red while true adore. That's good. That makes sense. My heart's in a loop. That's genuinely good. Forever and more. I feel like not a great finish, but still, that would be number 1. Is that Claude?
Number 1 was actually ChatGPT,
Okay.
and number 2 was Claude.
And number 2 was Claude. So ChatGPT reigns supreme. Let's go.
I also feel like glowing bright blue is like blue screen of death on Windows.
Yeah.
It might not have good Valentine's Day symbolism.
That is very true.
Well, like the person sounds lonely, right? So it's like my screen glows bright blue, my heart is beating, thoughts point to you. It's not like they're with the beloved. So
Like my computer crashed.
Computer's crashing.
Speaking of crashing, what are your thoughts on the CS job market right now?
Wait, is this the next? Yeah, okay, so we're transitioning to our spicy segment. This is gonna be a recreation of Hot Ones. We're gonna be eating spicy fries because Professor Guerzhoy is vegetarian, so we can't be eating wings, but we have some spicy fries.
You just want forks?
Do we have?
We have forks.
Okay. So we got some spicy fries, and we're gonna be answering some spicy questions while we eat some spicy fries. Already getting started.
Starting off hot.
So like, did you prompt it with my stuff because I felt like it was plagiarizing me a little?
Yeah, so like pretty much what we did is we took your 4 poems that you posted and we asked it to generate something like very similar, like generate a poem. And then some of them literally instantly, but then DeepSeek took 20 minutes to generate its poem, and clearly it didn't live up to the expectations. Clearly not.
There is such a thing as overthinking, yeah. Funny enough, so like I actually also spent about 30 minutes doing the same thing of like prompting. I like Claude, so I'm prompting Claude to like Claude is the chillest LLM to me. Like we're just like as a not the person, but like
It's the closest AI. You two are like compared to Chad.
Yeah. We hang. Yeah. So anyway, I was like doing the same thing of like, can you make more of this kind of stuff, and like here's an idea, can you make something of it? And I was quite frustrated it didn't work at all. Or at least like not to my medium level standards.
That's your caliber.
So I ended up like having to write the one new thing actually myself. It was very annoying.
Oh no, new ideas.
But like interestingly, I was telling you before. So it used to be a year ago that if you tried to make a poem with ChatGPT or whatever, it would not work at all. So it would usually not be able to rhyme, and it was really bad at meter. It actually is still very bad at meter. So like if you look at those poems, like they mostly do not scan. And part of it is that to a first approximation, the way they work is they generate the text one like approximately one word, one character at a time. Something between one character at a time and one word at a time. So like basically one subword at a time. And that means that, well, how do you make it rhyme? Well, like you got to look far ahead in order to say, well, like I'm going to end up with this word at the end. And I got to plan it out so that, you know, the last word of the second line rhymes with the last word of the last rhyme. If you're generating genuinely one word at a time, that's really tricky to do because you're not planning ahead. So apparently they made it work. So now those things do rhyme. Part of it is they don't quite generate one word at a time. But another part of it is that even though they're generating approximately one word at a time, they're planning ahead a little bit. So we did kind of the same kind of research with chess last year. People saw that. And contemporaneously, there was a paper from Berkeley where they found that something like a large language model, if you train it on chess to predict kind of the next move, you can actually look inside the model and you can see that the model does know what are the other possible moves. And of course, it makes sense. Like if you need to predict the next move, you need to know the rules, stuff like that. So they are capable of like implicitly a little bit planning a little bit ahead. I think one of the big surprises in terms of like LLMs actually working is that apparently you don't need that much planning ahead and that much explicit encoding of the rules of grammar, like the rules of poetry, in order to generate something plausible.
Do you think it's possible to do it iteratively? Like write a poem and then read that poem and somehow be able to construct an improved poem?
So kind of like GPT Canvas, but for poetry and automatic, right? Yeah, I think it is possible. Yeah, I think it's hard. I actually made something that's a little bit like that with reinforcement learning. I got like a data set of jokes with like user ratings or like human ratings of the jokes, and I tried to like iteratively generate better and better jokes, meaning jokes that are like so train a model that predicts how good the joke is according to user ratings, and then use that model in order to evaluate the jokes you generate and try to generate better and better ones. And it kind of worked a little bit. It wasn't that funny, but yeah, I think those things are possible. I think one thing to think about is what they would call the search space, right? So if you're thinking about all the possible poems that you can write, there's exponentially many. So the question is essentially, is it possible to start from something that's not that good at poem, not that good at joke, and somehow adjust it bit by bit in order to get to something really good, even though you're looking at an exponential space where most of the really good stuff is like really, really far away from where you're starting from. And I think people's subjective experience with, more, maybe with code a little bit like we discussed before, but certainly with poems, is that like you get this strike of inspiration and it doesn't feel like you are like almost there and then you need to adjust a little bit. And maybe that's an illusion, maybe not. I don't think we know exactly up until the point where we do get the computational system that is able to kind of display what looks like genuine human creativity. Maybe we don't understand how it works.
On that note, we prepared a little poem for you actually. So I'll recite it for you. Okay. YouTube is red, Zoom is blue. I've never met a more goated streamer than you. What would you rate that in comparison to the AI generated ones?
5 out of 5. Flattery always works.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we're gonna move on to our next segment, which is hot one.
That was human written, right?
Yeah. Did you like it? You liked it better, right?
Well, I was a little bit biased, but sure.
We'll take it.
We'll take it.
All right. So we'll move on to the next segment, which is hot ones with Professor Guerzhoy. So basically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask you a few questions, and we're gonna try to get your opinions on some hot takes while you indulge in some hot sauce drenched fries. All right. So first question: Waterloo versus UofT, just in general.
Never been to Waterloo actually. Seems like a good place for 300s in the world. That's pretty good. You want a serious answer? I mean, they obviously have a very good thing going where they have a great reputation for industry-focused people. They are, very selective in terms of who they admit. They work pretty hard. Good for them. But we're good too.
All right. So our next question, guess sort of on that note, is what are your thoughts on the CS job market right now?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it isn't as good as it was a couple of years ago. I think those things come and go. I think many people would say that part of what's going on is that a little bit, after 2020, so like in 21, 22, there was a lot of hiring going on, and part of the reason there's layoffs now and there's fewer job postings now is that just a few years ago there was a lot of hiring. Those things come and go. I think there's long-term worries about large language models replacing programmers, and predicting the future is hard. At the same time, like what else are you gonna do? Software is changing the world, so that's the place to be. The market is it's still the case that there's a lot more people working now than 5 years ago. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I hope things. I don't know. I can't promise anything, but also I would say that things that kind of market goes up, the market goes down. That happens.
Right. So we shouldn't just blindly believe what the Instagram reels tell us.
Have you seen the memes about the CS job market?
I have not actually.
Do you want to pull one up?
Can we pull one up?
Someone starts scrolling.
Just scrolling. We could pull up on Adam. You have your phone? Yeah, we could. Let's look at CS job market meme.
Well, in the meantime, we'd like to know what your thoughts are about university offers are coming out around this time of year. And so we want to know if you can share your thoughts on the differences between computer science, machine intelligence, and things of that nature for students who are just about to enter university.
So as opposed to computer science versus data machine intelligence, something like that. Yeah. So I think the way to think about it is we are offering different things, right? So EngSci offers the foundation years where you do math, you do physics, you do it as part of a cohort of really outstanding people. And I think that's kind of why people would want to come to EngSci is, I want to do maybe machine intelligence, for example, but I also want to be in those foundations years. It doesn't have to be that you have to want to take every single course in the foundation years. Probably there's few people who want that, especially as the semester wears on. But if you want to do something like that and you want to be around people who want to do it, I think a big part of why you're in university is by being part of the cohort. So if that sounds like you should come to EngSci. If it doesn't sound like you, then there's other options as well. In terms of the coursework, it's just not that different. It's about kind of the ethos and about being in a community of people who want to do this kind of thing versus being in a community of people who do that kind of thing. You could, if you wanted to, go to arts and science and basically do something like XI if you select the courses carefully. It's basically about the community. I myself did computer science. I'm not saying the computer science community is bad, but I would also say that there is like nowhere on campus, I think, that's anything like the XI community.
Like the common room?
Like the common room.
Or the Common Room podcast.
or the common room podcast, or even the Discord. No, it's like, you know, it's very it's very tight knit. It's really, again, like a lot of people who, when they were 17, 18, looked at XI and said, "This is what I want to do," right? And because that's how the cohort is assembled, essentially, right? So if that sounds like you, which means that if you're thinking about whether you want to come to XI, like if you look at what XI is like and you say, "This is what I want," well, you'll be around people who are of the same mind. So that's great. Academically, again, like there is nothing like we try to, you know, make use of the fact that everyone's taking the same thing. So I can, like, you know, give an assignment that uses linear algebra in my computer science course, which they can't really do in arts and science, for example. But you could reconstruct XI, like nobody would probably want to, but you could reconstruct XI in arts and science if you wanted to. It's really about the community.
Right.
How do you know if the community is for you? Well, like, just look at XI, see if that's something that you would like, and you'll be among like-minded people if you select a program.
Okay, we have a couple like memes surrounding like CS. I mean, this is one right here.
All right.
I'm sure we could display it on screen, but
Squid Games, but it's 456 CS majors fighting for one internship. CS students getting an unpaid internship after their 800th application. That's illegal.
you think these are like very accurate to how it is now, or?
I mean, from what I understand, most people who graduated last year got a reasonable job, or many people got good jobs. I'm sure not everyone, like sometimes people struggle. I think it's tough. I think part of it is like, of course, like everyone's applying into everything. So the fact that there is like lots of applications for every job, well, yeah, like that's what would happen if everyone's applying to everything. So I think that's not necessarily indicative of what's going on. I think for sure there are people who struggle, unfortunately, and part of it is that there's not as much growth as before. In fact, there is like a little bit of a shrinkage, and there is like exponential growth in terms of people going into computer science generally.
So speaking of last year's class and you having done this job for a while, and also keeping in mind that we're writing course reviews for ESC 190 at the end of the semester, how would you say that the 2T8s stack up to the past year EngSci's, and have you noticed any patterns regarding how EngSci was and how the students of EngSci were, let's say 15 years ago compared to now?
You might need a couple of fries for this.
It's hard. So I don't really have, like, there's no point in comparing, you know, or not because I don't have an interesting I don't have a hot take about, like, you know, like this year versus last year. Not because you're writing my reviews or whatever, but because, like, genuinely the changes are not that big. And sometimes, like, you feel like, you know, oh, like this class is kind of quieter and this class was kind of more rowdy, which incidentally is the case. Last year was a lot more rowdy than this year. Thank you. But like, I think a lot of it is just like, you know, weird, like half-true impressions that don't really say very much. I think I do have a serious answer. So even though my mouth is burning a little bit. So here's what I think you see if you think about it. So I TA'd like ESC 180 for the first time in 2007. So that was actually more than 15 years ago, I guess.
I mean, Pavlos, he was born in 2007.
There you are. I do see I think some trends. They're not like huge, but I think it's a little bit interesting. I think what you see is, in general, people are kind of, I would say, more polished. So it used to be that you would get just like people writing like weird essays, and you don't have, like, even on like, ESC 180 midterms, you don't have as much of that anymore. I think part of it is that and by weird I mean like unexpected. And I think part of it is that now everyone's kind of on the same internet, and everyone kind of thinks, in the job market, but also like in university admissions, things are getting kind of like more competitive. So everyone's kind of doing the same kind of things that you're supposed to do in order to get into university, studying from the same materials. So I would say there's like maybe a little bit more uniformity in terms of preparation. I would also say that people have, and maybe it's the same thing, but people have gotten better at writing tests. So like the test taking ability has improved over the years. I am not sure, and this is not a criticism, right? Like all things being equal, it's better to be good at tests than bad at tests. But I would say that it might be a little bit that it's like test taking versus kind of, underlying understanding, which like has not gotten worse, but maybe hasn't gotten better.
Right.
So I think kind of people are kind of more polished, and I would attribute it to just kind of everything getting, kind of things getting more competitive, and also the information ecosystem being kind of more uniform across the board.
So from a time when things weren't maybe as polished, what would you say is the most like just diabolical piece of code you've ever had to do?
It's the most diabolical piece of code. I don't know, a seg fault's a seg fault, right? Yeah, and I know you sent me this question in advance, actually, so that's what I didn't have an answer. Sorry, let's skip one, I'll just have it.
We'll just have a fun. All good, we have napkins.
All right, so kind of on the note of, you mentioned earlier that there's a NSci 2TA Discord.
Never mind. I do have it.
Do you have an answer?
Yeah. And it actually goes back to kind of comparing cohorts and stuff. So 2 years ago in 190, I did like a whole lecture of what I considered to be angelic code, but apparently everyone else thought was diabolical. So I was trying to kind of make the point that you can modify memory just directly using pointers. So what we did was we defined a function, and then we used pointer arithmetic in order to get into the definition of the function in the compiled code and change what the function returned during runtime. And I thought that was like hilarious and angelic and stuff, but apparently like most of the 2T, whatever it was, 2T3s disagreed, so there's a lot of complaints.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
So I guess on the earlier note, you were asked a question in the Discord about the soccer team Arsenal. So we'd like to know some of your Premier League hot takes. So first we're going to start with the age-old question. What do you think of Tottenham Hotspur?
Not a fan.
Not a fan.
It's a very polite way of putting it, I'll say.
You gotta stay family friendly. You know what I mean?
All right. So I guess just more generally about Arsenal, how do you think that they're doing this season? compared to perhaps previous seasons just in general?
How are they doing? I haven't actually. I've been like reading about Trump and stuff. So.
Fair enough.
You haven't been as involved?
No, I like to be honest. I wasn't following.
Oh, okay.
Poor Discord user is going to be so disappointed when he finds this
I'm a
out.
proud Gooner. A Gooner, of course, is an Arsenal fan.
Of course.
Just for clarification.
Yeah.
Famously.
How are we doing? Are we like third place or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Yeah. Go Gunners. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, I guess moving on from that, I'd like to ask you some questions about.
All right. Do we have the guitar? Do we have the guitar? I'll get the guitar.
So, we do have a guitar, as was contradicted from earlier.
Did you tune it?
It's a little far. Okay. We'll just like eat some fries while we're waiting. Wait, let me get one too.
Can you grab one?
Yeah. So for the non-English soccer fans, Arsenal is a team in London. I genuinely am a fan, and like I don't follow the scores all that much, but like sometimes I like look it up and I'm like, oh, we're doing well. So Arsenal is like it's a good team. It doesn't always win, but yeah, like it's I still, you know, since I was I don't know, like probably 14 or something. And like sometimes I check up on them and they're usually doing pretty okay. So
When were they close to getting relegated? Was that last year or the year?
like
No, not last year.
Not last year.
Not in recent history.
ever actually.
I don't think they've ever been relegated.
No, they weren't relegated, but I thought they were maybe like bottom 5 or so.
Oh, like the very beginning of, I want to say like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was really dismal.
Yeah. That's all I remember from about Arsenal.
More of a Leeds team. But yeah, actually, well, while we wait until the guitar arrives, I don't want to get political, but you said you were looking at. And we're back, and we're having Guerzhoy play a lovely piece. What's the title of this song?
It's called Code Monkey.
Code Monkey.
Yeah, so it's an oldie. So this is by Jonathan Colton. So if people have seen my Read Your Grades song about failing people, that's kind of the parody of Jonathan Colton. And this is another one of his. I'm just gonna do his song. I don't have my version. Code Monkey would refer to a person who writes software that's maybe a little bit GPT-like, replaceable. Code Monkey, get up, get coffee. Code Monkey, go to job. Code Monkey, have boring meeting with boring manager Rob. Rob say, Code Monkey very diligent, but his output stink. His code not function or elegant. What do Code Monkey think? Code Monkey think maybe manager wanna write got him login page himself. Code Monkey not say it out loud. Code Monkey not crazy, just proud. Code Monkey like Fritos. Code Monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew. Code Monkey very simple man with big cozy secret heart. Code Monkey like you. Code Monkey hang around at front desk. Tell you sweater look nice. Code Monkey offer buy you soda. Bring you cup, bring you ice. You say no thank you for the soda, cause soda make you fat. Anyways, you're busy with a telephone, no time for a chat. Code Monkey have long walk back to cubicle. He sit down, pretend to work. Code Monkey not feeling so great. Code Monkey not thinking so straight. Code Monkey like Fritos. Code the monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew. Code the monkey, very simple man, with the big secret. What kind of heart? Fuzzy heart. Code the monkey like you. Code the monkey have every reason to get out this place. Code monkey just keep on working to see a soft pretty face. Don't do that. Much rather wake up with a coffee cake, take a bath, take nap. This job is fulfilling in creative ways. Such a load of code the monkey. Thinks someday he have everything, even pretty girl like you. Code the monkey just waiting for now. Code the monkey thinks someday, somehow, not a productive attitude. Code the monkey like Fritos. Code the monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew. Code the monkey. I forgot the lyrics. But you get the idea.
We get
Very simple math. Okay. Alright. Sweet Caroline.
Do you want us to nod us in when the lyrics begin?
Say it.
Do you want
We can introduce it.
No, like nod us in when we're supposed to start singing. Are we not doing it as like karaoke?
Yeah, right?
We are, yeah.
So, like, do you know the song?
Yeah, but give us
Yeah.
a nod when we start.
No, just like, do whatever. Like, it's not gonna be polished.
Sir, do you want to like introduce it to the?
Alright, we are doing Sweet Caroline with the Common Room podcast. Alright. Sing along at home. Where it began, I can't begin to know it, but then I know it's growing strong. Was in the spring, then spring became the summer. Who'd have believed you'd come along? Hands, touching hands, reaching out, touching me, touching you. Sweet Caroline, bum bum bum. Good times never seem so good, so good, so good. I've been inclined, bum bum bum, to believe they never would. But now I'm like it at night, and it don't seem so lonely. With Valentine, with only two, just the two of us, just the two of us. And when it hurts, well, her name runs off my shoulders. How can I hurt when holding you? Warm, touching warm, reaching out, touching me, touching you. Sweet Caroline, bum bum bum. Good times never seem so good. I've been inclined, bum bum bum, to believe they never would. Another time. Sweet Caroline, bum bum bum. Good times never seem so good. So good, so good, so good. Sweet Caroline, bum bum bum. You're right. I think that's what worked out.
Yeah, that was good.
That was amazing.
Okay, so that was some lovely music that we heard. I mean, I had a fun time singing. I'm sure everyone else did too. So now there were a few questions that we had from some of our followers, some burning questions.
Some of the 2T8s, some of the other
I think
exercises.
one of them was, what is a pointer?
Well, a pointer is an address. That's all it is. I'm trying to think of a joke, but it's no laughing matter because the midterm is in 2 weeks.
Oh. So whoever asked that better study up.
Study up.
That sounds like
And a similar question, if you had to choose a chosen coding language to represent yourself, what language would that be?
C# because I'm usually out of tune.
And another question we had that seemed popular was something called ISO coin. I'm not sure if you're aware of what that is, the cryptocurrency.
Yeah, so in general, I would recommend against buying meme coins. That doesn't apply to ones I have a stake in. Yeah, I know. Is that a real thing?
I think it was a real coin.
Just for some context, a student in NSI actually this year made a Guerzhoy coin with the ticker $PYZO. So, yeah.
We gotta hear, we can pull it out. But it's this.
There's about 1 billion in circulation.
Alright.
I was.
And what's the market cap?
7,400.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Alright. I mean, that's not enough for a year of anxiety, but...
So I'm guessing you wouldn't recommend investing in that?
Like the world is an uncertain place. There is tariffs, there is that, and what can you trust if you cannot trust Paizo?
That's true.
That's a fair point.
Invest in Paizo. No, don't do that. Unofficial advice.
Don't do that.
Can we get some portfolio insights of what meme coins you do hold?
Again, my first bit of advice is go back in time and buy NVIDIA. Failing that, just buy index funds.
Reasonable.
Safe option.
You heard it here first.
Of course, kind of like the first line of investment would be anxiety tuition. That's always a good return. Yeah.
And I think on the spinner, the last question we had was, given it's Valentine's, do you have any advice on how someone out there from NSI can go find their Valentine?
A bit late, but
Time is running out. I think you guys have a lot of editing to do. I don't know if you'll be able to post it before midnight.
Maybe for next year.
Yeah. So that does mean that you have like 360 days or something to use the advice that I'm about to come up with. Be nice to people. Be nice to people. Be who you are, and hopefully it'll work out.
Very cogent advice.
Yeah, I think that's very fair.
All right. I think on that note, we're gonna move to our final segment of today's episode, which is a foosball match.
Wait, but before we do that,
Oh, yeah.
on the topic of Valentine's, Adam, would you do the honors?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So, Professor, we would like to give you a little gift over here. Just a little chocolate, a little flower, given the occasion.
Yeah. Thank.
That's on behalf of the entire Common Room team.
Thank you for coming. Okay, we should end with foosball.
Foosball.
Yeah.
Guys, we need to figure out who's gonna play if we want to defeat Professor Guerzhoy?
I will defeat Professor Guerzhoy.
Okay, so now we have Professor Guerzhoy and Jackie playing foosball. First to 5 wins.
Oh, shoot. Wait. Professor's not even ready.
Yeah, I feel comfortable to watch. This is serious.
Oh, okay.
Alright, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Oh, it's over. Might actually be over.
We don't fake content here. Oh, Sammy, very good.
A lot of editing.
Three, 0, 3, 1. Oh, like the edge side comeback. Lucky for you.
What are we starting?
I don't know.
Oh, your podcast, bro.
You don't know. I haven't threatened the one I detector.
Whoa, 4-2. Wait, match point. Close for the content. Close for the content. 4-2. Oh. Alright, wait, tied at 4. Match point.
Do we want to do 1 by 2?
No.
No.
Winner takes all.
Match point.
Winner takes all.
Close for the content.